Hello, hello, hello. I'm back. I did not expect to be back quite so soon. Uh, it's not good news. It's currently 5:20. I got home about 20 minutes ago from St. Joseph's Oratory, and it was not good. It was not a good situation. Did not go the way I thought it would go. So we're back to indignation. I've still got my vindication, but there's more indignation. So I guess I may as well just record the events while they're fresh in my mind so that I can recount them to the office of the Archbishop of Montreal, Monseigneur Christian Lepin. So basically what happened is I was all excited to go and confess my sins to a priest and to pray and to receive the Eucharist. And I showed up at the front desk and they said, "You need a vaccine passport to enter." And I said, "No, I don't." And I just walked in. And I went downstairs and the lady was following me and phoning security on her walkie-talkie. Because I talked to the bishop's office and they said you should go and talk to a priest there. Don't talk to the security people, talk to the priest and the administrator. So that's what I did. I just ignored her and I walked in. I said, "I talked to the bishop. He said I don't need a vaccine to enter the church." So I walked in, went downstairs, and lo and behold, there was one of my favorite priests. I've known him for years, and I go and have sit-down consultations with him for hours at a time. And I don't think I should name him by name just yet, because his name might come up in the whole inquiry with the Archbishop. His behavior, what he did, whether it was appropriate, whether it was not appropriate. I don't want to name this particular priest, okay? Out of respect for him. He was in an awkward situation because of me, so I don't want to name him publicly in connection with the incident. So anyway, I'm talking with the priest and the woman with the walkie-talkies beside me, and I said, "Am I ever glad to see you, Father? I've been trying to find a priest because they won't let me in because I'm not vaccinated." Even though I spoke with the bishop's office and with the office of the secretary of the auxiliary bishop, Thomas Dowd, as recently as yesterday, and everyone assured me every time that I would never be refused entry to any church based on my vaccination status. So the priest was, okay, yeah. And then the security guard shows up and he lays his hands on me and he starts roughing me up. Well, I guess it wasn't quite at that stage. At that stage, he was just talking very loudly, telling me I have to leave. You again, okay, you're back. You're not supposed to come here. You're never going to come here again, da-da-da. You're going to be banned, da-da-da. And he started just talking. He didn't lay his hands on me yet, but when we had reached the top of one landing of one staircase, because the priest was on his way up to the 4:30 mass that I was on my way to. When we reached the landing, the security guard tried to insert himself between myself and the priest. I was talking with the priest and he tried to insert himself using his arms as a barrier, and I just kept following the priest, walking through these outstretched arms, and the security guard said, "Oh, you touched me, how dare you." This is all in French. "Oh, you laid your hands on me." "No, I didn't lay my hands on you. I'm walking through your arms." But anyway, at that point, he decided to grab me and start roughing me up. So we're on the escalator. I'm still talking with the priest. The priest at this point is just completely awkward and doesn't know what to say or do. He just sort of walks up the escalator awkwardly, thinking, what is going on? Who is this lunatic that's getting jumped by our security? But I just kept saying, look, I'm talking to the priest. I know this priest. I know that he's Catholic. I know that he'll listen to me. But the priest wasn't listening to me. He was just trying to pretend like I didn't exist at that point. The security guards, yelling at me and roughing me up. And when we got to the top of that flight of stairs or escalator, he started manhandling me. And by this point, the priest had made his way a little bit further away and probably exited the building on his way up to the second part up higher where they've got the basilica. So anyway, I don't know what exactly transpired while he's roughing me up and telling me how much trouble I'm in for coming back and I should never have come back and blah blah blah, and we've told you not to come in without a vaccine passport and you're really in for it now and all this sort of thing, and you're leaving now. And I'm like, yeah, I am leaving, I'm going up to the mass. He's like, no, you're not going to the mass, you're not going to the mass, you're never coming back here again, and you better leave, you're lucky I didn't charge you last time, and I'm gonna you just leave or I'm gonna call the cops. I'm like, call the cops, yeah, call the cops by all means, right? Because this is just a repeat of the other situation. I just talked to the bishop yesterday, he told me I was in the right and you're in the wrong, so call the cops. So anyway, he was hesitant to call the cops, but he just kept roughing me up and telling me I shouldn't be there, I'm never going to come back, and blah blah blah. And then he's trying to throw me out of the joint, and he's so violent about it. Like, he's got me by the scruff of the neck, and wearing my light windbreaker at this point, because it's a rainy, mild day outside here in Montreal. He's got me by the scruff of the neck. At one point, he's got me in a headlock. He's ragdolling me. And as he's ragdolling me, as he's dragging me out, there are all kinds of little, what do you call it, like at a red carpet event where you've got those poles and then the material in between. I forget what you call that. Anyway, to guide people as they walk in so they can go in an orderly but efficient lineup to get into the church. He smashed me through all of that. He smashed me through the the little altar of hand sanitizer. They got like a little podium just at the entranceway. He smashed me through that. That went flying. There are people coming in wondering what is going on. There's a guy there, he grabbed his cell phone, he starts recording it. I'm like, record this, please, and let me have a copy or put it on YouTube, whatever, because I want to see this footage. I should look it up now on YouTube, see if it's there. I'll just look up St. Joseph's Oratory from today's videos and see what's posted. I'd really like to see that. And all the while, I'm saying, call the cop, because at this point, I've been thrown outside, I've been thrown on the ground, and he's got this probably 170-pound, 5'11", 30-year-old security guard, calls himself a Catholic, has his knee on my chest. He's like, he's all out of breath, and he's like screaming at me and telling me what a horrible person I am for coming back into the church when he warned me last time, blah blah blah. And I'm just laughing at him, and I'm talking to the people around like, hey, I'm Catholic, I'm here to pray. Does this look Catholic to you? Does this guy look Catholic to you? I'm like, hey, keep recording this, I want to see this footage. And I'm just talking to the people, I'm laughing, I'm having a good time. I mean, I'm kind of out of breath too, because his knee is on my chest, right? So I'd love to see the footage of this, but I'm basically saying, call the cops, call the cops, call the cops. He's like, we did call the cops. I'm like, well, let's get them here fast, because this is annoying. And so anyway, he let me stand up, and then, I don't know, he went and talked to someone, but there was another security guard blocking the entrance way to the sort of little tent that keeps people sheltered from the weather as they're entering the building, where all those things got smashed by me, and the sanitizer got smashed as he ragdolled me. So there's a guard there blocking the way. He's got his arms outstretched, and I just did a little thing like I was pretending I'm going to go around. I'm going to deke around this way, I'm going to deke around that way. I was just joking around, because I didn't take any of this seriously. It's a fucking joke. Excuse my language. It is a joke. It's a bad, bad joke. It's like, I'm here to pray. I don't need a vaccine passport to come in and pray or to talk to a priest, right? I don't need it. I talked to the bishop yesterday. He told me, go and talk to a priest at the oratory, explain to them that you talked to us, and we're going to sort this all out. Don't worry about it. So anyway, I didn't take any of their security measures seriously. I don't think anyone should. It's a complete joke. Finally, the cops show up, but not before I had sort of wandered over as my security guard friend, the original guy who jumped me, as he sort of stayed with me in the parking lot as I went over to the upper portion where you're supposed to go in for the actual mass, where the priest went, right? I was following the priest. I would have just gone up outside and up to the basilica, and I would have gone to the mass. I would have gone to confession and gone to mass, right? Because I had plenty of time at that point. But the security guard shadowed me. He stayed with me, and he prevented me because there's a little walkway, and it's narrow enough that if he blocks my route, I can't go unless I like overpower him physically, which I wasn't about to do. So then I was just resorting to the little deke jokes again, like, oh, I'm going to sneak around here, I'm going to sneak around there. Like knowing full well it ain't going to happen, but it's just making light of a really silly situation. You think this is funny? You think this is funny? I'm like, yeah, it's funny because I'm twice your age and I weigh probably a good 25 pounds less than you. And you got out of breath trying to wrestle me to the ground. Like it was a lot of effort for you. I find that funny. You know, you're a security guard, like a strapping young man, tall and strong, and it was all you could do to wrestle me to the ground. It was pathetic. I mean, okay, maybe you were being gentle, like you're trying not to kill me or something like that. I don't know, but it was like, it was awkward. It was really awkward, you know? I mean, I don't think I've ever been in a proper fight, but I mean, I think I could take this guy if I wanted to hurt this guy or incapacitate this guy. I don't think I'd have any problem. Because he seemed like really energized, but his energy wasn't translating into submitting me, you know, until he got that judo throw. He got a judo throw in that put me on the ground, you know, but, you know, I wasn't in fight mode. I'm walking to my destination, which is I'm walking behind the priest mode. Like I was just walking. Right? I wasn't thinking, oh, I'm in a fight, I need to fight back. No, I don't want to fight back because he's a security agent and I could have charges pressed against me if I fight back. So I'm not fighting back. Right? But I get the distinct impression that I could take this guy. Even though he's 25 pounds heavier than me, I don't think he knows what he's doing. Anyway, I found that pathetic and I was laughing at him and I let him know that I think it's laughable. The whole situation's laughable. I'm a Catholic coming to pray and to avail myself of the sacraments. Once again, same as last week. And no, I'm not vaccinated, but I talked to the bishop again, the bishop's office again yesterday. Okay, they told me to come here and to talk to a priest. That's what I did. So anyway, the cops showed up. And the funny part about this is that when, as we're waiting for the cops, for what seemed like eternity, it was probably 10 minutes. As we're waiting for the cops, he's just standing there and I'm making fun of him that he's so much younger and stronger and taller than I am. And, you know, he's a completely different weight class, right? But, I mean, I was just mocking him to his face because I just found it so laughable. But we're just standing there and, you know, a bit of banter, and he's telling me I'm in such trouble and he's going to press charges and all this sort of thing. I'm just laughing. I'm just like, whatever, buddy. This is a joke, you know? But basically, we're just standing there doing our little back and forth banter. And people are walking by, and this one family came. They're trying to go through this narrow walkway to go up to the basilica. And the security guy's like, oh, you're here for the mass? Okay. And he opens up his arm for them to pass through, right? So I just got in the back of the line with the three people, the three family members. Oh, so I'm going to go too. I'm part of this family. So I just made little jokes like that. But anyway, he didn't find it very funny. But then the funniest part was when the cops actually showed up. The 3 cop cars show up with 6 cops, okay? And he starts putting on a little show, like theater. So I'm just standing there by this narrow gateway that leads to the pathway or whatever it is up to the basilica. And we're just standing there doing our banter. But then when the cop cars pull into this parking lot, which is right there, he starts like roughing me up for no reason, like just to get me to start like reacting like physically like a rag doll. Like it looks like, okay, there's some activity here, there's some motion. I wasn't resisting. I'm just being like thrown around like a rag doll, but it makes it look like we're doing the dance now. Okay, we're doing the dance. Something's happening. Oh, look, the cops are going to see that something's happening here. Okay, it's exciting. So I'm like yelling out to the cops like, hey guys, look at this. What a joke. Like this guy is roughing me up for no reason. He wasn't roughing me up 2 minutes ago, but when he saw you, he started roughing me up so that you'd have something to look at when you got here. All of this, by the way, is happening in French. okay, with my broken French and everything. So the cops just come up and they tell the security guard to go away. There's 6 cops, so 3 cops talk to him, 3 cops talk to me. Okay, what's the story? What happened? So I talked to the female cop. She's very nice. All the cops are nice, okay? That's the first thing. Any experience I've had with the cops in Montreal, any experience I've had with cops anywhere, but especially in Montreal, I've heard a lot of bad things. I've never had anything but a good experience with the cops. I think they're all nice, they're all patient, they're all friendly, they're all kind, and they're all reasonable, okay? These were no different. They're very friendly. The head woman that was talking to me, she was maybe a bit condescending, like treating me like an idiot or whatever, but that's what she has to do. She's dealing with a lot of idiots all day long, right? So she's like, tell me the story, what happened? And I told her the story. I said, do you have 5 minutes to hear the story? It's a little bit involved, right? It goes back to about last week and my calls to the bishop and all this sort of thing. I went through the whole thing and what happened today and so on and so forth. And she's like, okay, well, what it comes down to is, did the woman at the front desk say that you need a vaccine passport to go in and that you can't come in without a vaccine passport? I said, yes. And she said, but what did you do? I said, well, I just said, well, that's not true. I don't need a vaccine passport to come in here. I talked to the bishop, so I'm going in. And I walked in. She said, okay, that's the pertinent point. That's the salient point. That's the issue at hand. She told you not to come in and you came in. I said, yeah, well, are you Catholic? Yes, I am. Okay. So you understand the hierarchy in the church. And then I start talking about the authority. We talked about the authority of God, the Pope, the bishops, and then those that are under the bishop. She said, well, these people aren't under the bishop here. They're not, the bishop has no authority here. I said, are you Catholic? Yes. Do you understand the hierarchy of the church? Well, this is bigger than the church. This is the government. This is, we're in a pandemic. This is bigger than the church. Goes above the bishop. I'm like, are you Catholic? Do you understand the hierarchy of the church? The church is not subject to civil authority, right? She's like, well, this is public, what did she say, private property, or I don't know if she said public property or private property, or trying to imply. I said, wait a minute, does this oratory, does it belong to the city or does it belong to the church? And she's like, what do you mean? She didn't answer the question. It's like, well, because if it belongs to the church, it's the church hierarchy that will determine if I can come in, and the bishop is superior to the administration here. The administration here, the priests, are subject to the authority of the bishop. She's like, well, I don't want to talk about that. I don't want to talk about that. No one wants to talk about authority in the church. Why? Because there's a pandemic and the civil authority is higher than the church. Well, it's not. I'm sorry. It's not. It's pathetic. It really is disheartening to see the level of ignorance of professed Catholics, people who claim to be Catholics. But she's very, very sweet, very nice, very friendly, just misinformed about her faith, right? And again, she said the same thing. She said, well, why do you come here? Why don't you go somewhere else? Because this is the only place that's got this passport thing. I said, well, because it's hard to find confession. It's hard to find a place to do confession convenient. I explained all that. And, she was very nice. She was very nice. I thanked all the cops. I said, thank you very much. Because they actually negotiated. They went in. The first thing they told me, they took my ID. They asked my phone number. They did all sorts of things, to check me out. And then they said, you can't go to mass today. It's not going to happen. And then this is early in our conversation. They said, a couple of the cops, one of the guys came and said, you're not going to be welcome back here ever again. You're barred from St. Joseph's Oratory. You can never come back. And then I explained more and more and more about the situation and how it's not right and this and that and the other thing and how the bishop backed me up. And one of the cops, unbeknownst to me, one or more of the cops went in and actually found an administrator or a priest or someone and negotiated based on what I had said, I guess. Went in and renegotiated the deal. They said, okay. They came out and they said, look, we've talked to a priest. I don't know which priest it was. And we talked to one other person in there. And you are not permanently banned. You can come back, not today, but you can come back tomorrow. And you can come back anytime you want, but just not today, but you can come back as early as tomorrow on one condition. I said, what's the condition? She said, you have to be vaccinated. I said, well, then I'm never coming back because I'm never getting vaccinated. She said, well, it's up to you. Or he said, this is a guy talking to me at this point, one of the male cops. I said effectively, I'm banned for life from coming to one of my favorite churches in Montreal because I'm not going to be vaccinated. I'm never going to be vaccinated for whatever this thing is, COVID or whatever it is. Never. So I'm effectively banned for life. And they just said, sir, that's up to you. That's your decision. You make your own decisions. Okay. So I said, but I will be back. And they said, no, 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 no. Don't, sir, don't come back. Don't come back. Don't come back. I said, no, no, I'm not going to come back without the proper paperwork. I'm going to go to the bishop. I'm going to talk to once again, to the bishop's office. I'm going to get this settled. It might not be soon. Might take a while. Might take years. Right? We know how slow the church moves. Might take years. Might never happen. But my intention is to come back with the duly signed paper authorizing me to, wait for it, to pray in church. Wow. Shocking. I'll have a paper that says I can pray in church. A Catholic man can come into a Catholic church and pray and confess his sins and go to Mass. Wow. Amazing. In 2021, or maybe by then it won't be 2021, it'll probably be 2030 when I get the paper saying, yes, you can go to church. But even if it never happens, this is the principle. The principle is authority. Who has the authority to prevent a Catholic man from entering a Catholic place of worship to worship his God? Yes, there are other churches I can go. Yes, I can go find a priest and annoy him and confess my sins to him sitting in the pews as people listen on, like it has happened so often. I don't mind. But the priest is not comfortable because I don't lower my voice enough, and I don't know how to whisper in a church, right? I don't know how to lower my voice and still communicate because I'm sitting in the pews surrounded by people. I'm sitting there with the priest. Doesn't seem very dignified, a very dignified way to confess your sins to a priest, right? There's a confessional there. Why don't we go in the confession booth? But for some reason they don't do that. They don't have time, or they're just not used to it, or they think it's just there for decoration. I don't know. I'm not criticizing anyone here. I'm just saying that we live in strange times, and if I had access to confession, if I had easy access, I wouldn't be going 45 minutes in the rain and the snow over to St. Joseph's Oratory. Right? Actually, I'm wearing the shirt that I got there. St. Joseph shirt. St. Joseph. It's got different languages, catering to all the tourists. There we see the oratory. Right? I'm a big fan. I pray every day to Saint Andre Bessette, Saint Brother Andre, who built that place, right? He's a saint. I go and I pray at his tomb. I used to, and it looks like I'm not going to be, I'm not going to have the privilege of doing that ever again, unless I'm able to get, by some miracle, I'm able to get the bishop, the archbishop, behind me to such a degree that we can work it out. So that's how my evening went. So I didn't go to confession. I didn't go to Mass. And tomorrow, the reason I was going to Mass this evening is because I wanted to do my Sunday obligation, because tomorrow I've got my Christmas tree being delivered in the morning, and we're supposed to set it up, and my wife doesn't want to be here alone when it gets delivered. And so how am I going to fulfill my Sunday obligation? It's going to be less than ideal because we had things planned. We've got people coming over. So I don't know. I don't know about that. It's just another messed up weekend in the church. It's messed up. So I'll leave it at that. I don't have much more to say. I mean, the cops were very, very good. They were very, very friendly. They're misinformed. They're naive about this, the pandemic. Obviously, they're completely blind to the reality, the hierarchy, the ecclesiastical hierarchy versus the civil hierarchy. They have no idea. They know nothing about the authority in my particular case. They know nothing and they care nothing. They don't care. They don't want to hear it. Okay? Even though these cops, some of them, the ones I asked, all claimed to be Catholic, and that security guard claims to be Catholic. And when I complained to the cop that he's roughing me up for no reason, that he's I'm twice his age and he weighs a good 20, 30 pounds more than me, she just said, well, he's doing his job. He's protecting the church. She's like, did you touch the priest? Were you aggressive to the priest? I'm like, no, I know this guy. I'm not. Why would I be aggressive with the priest? I said, on the contrary, I sought refuge. I was seeking refuge from the priest. Finally, I was allowed to find a priest because last week, I told the cop, last week, this is what I'm explaining to the cop today. Last week I came and I said, look, on what authority are you keeping me from going in and praying and doing the sacraments? And the security guard said, on this authority given to me by St. Joseph's Oratory. And I said, well, let's talk to a priest about that. Because I'm pretty sure that the priest understands the hierarchy of the Catholic Church, that he is underneath the bishop, not above the bishop. Let's talk to a priest. No, we're not going to bother the priest. We're not going to bother the priest. Just leave, we'll call the cops. That was last week, so I explained this to the cop today. And it's in one ear, out the other. They don't care. The only thing they care about is, look, this is the rule here. There's a pandemic, sir. It's bigger than the church. It's bigger than it's above the hierarchy of the church. This is pandemic. It's the government. It's all the whole world. It's so big. It's so big. It's so big. They just don't get it. They just are in a different world, completely different world from the one I inhabit. So I like these people. I love these people. I have sympathy for these people. But it is laughable. It's a joke. It's a bad joke. And I have to have patience and I have to be tolerant, because it doesn't look like they're waking up anytime soon. It really doesn't. So my next step is to talk once again to the bishop's office and see if I can escalate my dossier. I'm going to end this video. I'm going to go hang out with my wife. We got some Christmas decorations to put up and stuff like that, and chillax and have a good evening. I'm a little bit scraped up. I got a broken fingernail from the scuffle, but surprisingly, I mean, I've got to pull the groin muscle too, because he really yanked me around. My legs were flailing as he threw me onto the concrete. But I'm actually quite surprised at how durable I am. Like, it's one of the advantages of being a little Scottish guy, I guess. It's like I can really take a beating. The guy had me in a headlock and he was grunting and groaning like. It really was. It was. I mean, I have to admit, it was a lot of fun. It was fun. I think guys like to wrestle. There's a reason why guys like to wrestle. It's fun. I really only wish that I could fight back. That would have been fun to see what I could do. I mean, I got some moves, I've been watching UFC since the 90s. I got all kinds of favorite moves I'd love to try, and obviously I've got the strength, because this guy could barely get me out of the building, much less get me on the ground. It was quite difficult for him to get me on the ground. And if I had been in fight mode, I don't think he could have got me on the ground, honestly. I'm not boasting, I'm not bragging. I'm just saying that I enjoyed the physicality of it. I'm just enjoying the moment that it was a little bit of exercise and it was interesting, the dance of it. And there were two sets of rules. He had one set of rules, I had another set of rules, right? Like, in his mind, he was justified aggressing me. And in my mind, I know that anything I do that's aggressive is not going to be good for me. It's not going to be good for me. I know that. I'm not stupid. Even when we were outside in the parking lot, I'm not going to be aggressive. I know the cops are on their way, right? So when the cops asked me, were you aggressive? Did you lay your hands on anybody? No, I did not, because I'm not stupid, right? So anyway, all's well that ends well. I am annoyed that I can't go back there. I'm also anticipating that it's not going to be much fun trying to pursue this and trying to escalate this dossier and bring it to the next level and get some kind of actionable results. Like, ultimately what I want is a piece of paper signed by the office of the Archbishop of Montreal saying that I can go in even though I'm not vaccinated. I don't need a passport. I don't need to be vaccinated. I can go into St. Joseph's Oratory. Right? Not to be aggressive, not to fight, not to wrestle, to pray, to go to confession. I mean, the cops were kind of surprised, you know, like, why, like, okay, so this is about you trying to pray and go to confession and go to mass. Like, do you go to confession a lot? Like, she was kind of curious, like, oh, this is interesting. This guy goes to confession a lot. Like, I told her I was trying to go to confession last week, and I'd been a couple of weeks before that. Like, I try to go every week or two. And she seemed kind of like interested in that. Interesting. Because probably she hasn't been to confession in decades. I don't know. I'm not going to judge her. But I mean, based on her her knowledge or lack thereof of the hierarchy, I don't think she's exactly on fire for the faith, right? She's probably culturally Catholic. She probably has a sincere love and respect for the church in her own way. Not here to put her down or judge her. But she did seem a little bit curious, like, oh, interesting. So I'm also wondering about those who witnessed it. Like, I was looking in the eyes of the different spectators. I mean, it's a it's a moment you can't help but look. Things are getting smashed as I'm being ragdolled and thrown out by this loud security guard, right? It's like, it kind of draws your attention. So we've got these families, we've got these people coming to church, and this is what they're greeted with, right? Like, was any of that necessary? Is this necessary? It is absolutely ridiculous. Like, I mean, you could have, like my wife said, well, why didn't, when you were speaking with the priest, that should have ended all hostilities right there. I mean, it should have just been a dignified, civilized conversation where the priest takes the lead. And I said to the police, and I agree, obviously. He didn't get that opportunity because here come the security guard, and now we're in drama mode. So anyway, I did say to the female police officer that I don't find it very respectful or polite that the security guard, while I'm speaking to a priest, the security guard, first of all, would interrupt and then start yelling and start corralling me while I'm speaking to a priest. The priest is superior to the security guard in the hierarchy, right? We owe the priest respect. So the priest was cut off mid-sentence by the security guard. I don't think that's right. I don't think that's polite. I'm not armed. I'm not a threat. I'm talking to a priest. I know this priest. I've spent hours and hours in his office talking to him about Thomism, moral theology, because that's his expertise. He used to teach that. Now I've pretty much given away who he is, but anyway, I won't say more until things are settled at the bishop's office. It is a quagmire. It's a nightmare, and I don't want to make a mountain out of a molehill, but there is that central issue of authority. It's always central, but especially now, the civil authorities are overreaching. It's a very, very, very dangerous time we live in for the church because of this issue of authority. The civil authority overreaching and the Catholic authorities cowering, caving. And I've been reassured by the bishop's office 3 times now that that should not be the case. That should not be the case, that there is something that needs to be corrected here, because that is not right. It is not right. So I'll keep you posted. I don't know when we'll have an update on this. Probably, I'm not anticipating that it'll happen soon. But if I do find the video on YouTube of the security guard wrestling me to the ground, I'm going to put it on my website. Sorry, on my YouTube, so you can watch that. I just see here now, my friend Anthony, I was supposed to go and see him, but because of this kerfuffle, I just came straight home, and my wife doesn't want me to go anywhere. She wants me to be home warm, safe, and dry, because she loves me. But my friend Anthony, just see him in the chat, the live chat here. He says, it's amazing how the secular authority has absolute power over the religious authority. I can't believe this isn't being fought harder. Yeah, amen. I'm right there with you, brother. It's sad but true. I agree 100%, brother. So that's it. I'll wrap up here. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. And take care of yourselves. And we will talk very soon. God bless.